Good morning and welcome to the Wednesday, March 21st, 2018 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'm Kate Flavin, Public Information Officer with Sedgwick County. This morning, since it is our last meeting before the month of April, I've asked Susan Erlenwine to come and talk about the April burn ban.
Good morning, Commissioners. Susan Erlenwine with Environmental Resources. April is the month that most ranchers will burn their rangeland in order to get rid of woody plants and help promote the growth of the native grasses to feed their cattle. Because of the burning, unfortunately, we also have smoke and increased levels of ozone. The ozone can cause health problems, especially with people with pre-existing lung conditions such as asthma and bronchitis. So the Kansas Department of Health and Environment has developed a smoke management plan for the Flint Hills where most of that rangeland is being burned. That smoke management plan looks at education for the ranchers to help them use computer programs to determine best weather conditions and soil moisture conditions for proper burning, and to try to keep the smoke localized and from blowing into other areas. The plan also includes a ban on open burns in 16 counties, and Sedgwick County is one of those counties that cannot permit open burning in the month of April. Open burns includes the smaller burns such as brush piles, wood, even structures used by fire departments for training. Those burns can be done now in the month of March or after April, but they're trying to cut down on the amount of smoke generated during the month of April and leave that for the range management burning only. So I'm here to remind people that if you have an open burn permit in Sedgwick County for the year, burn now or skip April, but you cannot burn in April and burn afterwards. Or if you want a burn permit, it will not be issued in the month of April. If people have any questions about what is or is not allowed to burn in April, please look at our Sedgwick County website, sedgwickcounty.org, for more information. Or you can contact Fire Department, Sedgwick County Fire District Number 1, number 660-3473, or call Environmental Resources 660-7200, and we'd be happy to answer any questions and let people know if it's permitted or not for what they want to burn. Yes, you can have barbecues and other small burns, but we're looking at the brush piles, stuff like that. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I don't see any questions right now, but I appreciate you coming in and talking to us about that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Additionally, Commissioners, on the agenda, you'll consider a board appointment, an island annexation, building and related fees for the MABCD, a few items related to the exploited and missing child unit, a grant for COMCARE, and then items on bid board. So with that, Chairman, I will let you begin your meeting.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone that's here in the audience visiting with us today, observing the proceedings. I want to welcome those folks that are on KPTS watching us, and also those that are watching us later on YouTube or on the internet. But with that, I'd like to call the meeting to order for Wednesday, March 21st, 2018. Madam Clerk, first item.
Invocation to be led by Pastor Daniel Circle, First Salem Church. Please remain standing for the flag salute.
If you'll bow your heads. Dearest Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to gather here today to conduct the business of the county, Father God. Right now, as we stand here prepared to do the business that comes before the board, just grant us wisdom, grant them patience with each other, grant them the ability to do the things that are best for the county and not self-serving to their own personal agendas. Pray you'll bless them all and keep them safe in your heavenly name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Circle, thank you very much for being with us today. I appreciate it. Next item.
Roll call. Commissioner O'Donnell?
Present.
Commissioner Anza? Commissioner Howell,
Present.
Commissioner Unruh,
Present.
Chairman Dennis.
Present. Next item, please.
Public agenda.
Thank you. We have two folks signed up to speak today. The first one is Peggy Knutson. Thank you, and welcome to our commission meeting today. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chairman. My name is Peggy Knutson, and I live in Wichita. I am a member of Wichita Oasis. Oasis is a secular organization dedicated to creating community for the good of humanity. Two of our core values are that people are more important than beliefs and that human hands solve human problems. I'm here today regarding the invocations at the commission meetings. I heard Commissioner Unruh's apology at last week's meeting, and I will accept that his intention regarding his comments about atheists was not to offend. However, I do wonder if he would find it easy to be so flippant or sarcastic regarding other of his constituents who have belief systems other than his own. My biggest concern, however, was the first part of his comment, that the purpose of someone giving a secular invocation would be to use the time allotted to try to convince or persuade those in attendance to his or her point of view. It logically follows that Commissioner Unruh's belief is that the purpose of the invocation is to proselytize. This should not be tolerated in any invocation given at these meetings. I have heard many secular invocations given following the Grease versus Galloway decision of the Supreme Court in 2014. None were used to try to convince or convert those in attendance to a position of non-belief. All were used to solemnize and give weight to the proceedings at hand. They were used to emphasize the common goal of bringing people together to work toward building a better community for all. If invocations are continued at the commission meetings, they should not be discriminatory, but be open to all points of view. A better solution to this issue would be to hold no invocation or move toward a moment of silence, which would be inclusive of all of your constituents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. I appreciate it. Next, we have Alan Trenery. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you so very much. My name is Alan Trenery. I live on Burns Street on 14th and Burns. My mother is very heavily into religious science, and it embraces all religious persuasions. And one of my favorite things that I like to point out is what Gandhi said about it, was that he appreciates Christ, but he worries sometimes about the Christians who fail to embrace Christ's teachings of love and inclusion. I can't top what was said prior to me, but I wanted to just bring that statement into the arena that, the Buddhists, the Hindus, many other religions, millions of people practice other religions besides Christianity. I don't think that Christianity should trump any other religion. We need to love our neighbor as we would love ourselves, and then love our God in the way that God would have us love others. And I would appreciate it if we could see this attitude expressed more on a larger scale with everybody, on a day-to-day basis. We need to respect each other. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and for your service, and God bless you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for being here today. Those are the only two that signed up to speak. Is there anyone else in the audience that may wish to speak today that didn't have a chance to sign up? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, next item.
Appointments. Item A, resolution appointing Mark Orr to the Sedgwick County Community Corrections Advisory Board.
Mr. Chairman, Eric Yost, County Councilor. Item A is a resolution appointing Mark Orr to the Sedgwick County Community Corrections Advisory Board in the at-large position. This position had been held by Jamie Mitchell, but her term expired in February of this year. Mr. Orr is being appointed to a term of 2 years, which would expire March 22nd of 2020. The paperwork is in order, and I would urge adoption of this resolution. I'm told now that he is not expected to be present to be sworn, but I would urge adoption of this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Yost. I'll move that we adopt the resolution. Is there any discussion? Do I have a second? Second. We have a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Next item, please.
New business. Item B, island annexation request for the City of Clearwater pursuant to City of Clearwater Resolution Number 7-2018.
Good morning, Commissioners. Justin Wagoner, Assistant County Counselor. I'm here to present an island annexation request by the City of Clearwater. And an island annexation request is where the land that's proposed to be annexed does not actually adjoin the city. First, if you look at the map that's on the screen here, you'll notice the property that's proposed to be annexed is in red. The city limits for the City of Clearwater are in blue. And then there's a more zoomed in map here showing now. The property is in the Prairie Meadow Estate subdivision to the north of Clearwater. Several other properties in the subdivision have been annexed through island annexations as well. The City of Clearwater approved this resolution to seek the island annexation, and in this case, the property owners consented to annexation and requested to connect to the City of Clearwater's water services. The Metropolitan Area Planning Department completed the staff review of this annexation and recommended that the BOCC find that the proposed island annexation would not hinder the proper growth and development of the area nor any other city within Sedgwick County. State statute lays out requirements under which an island annexation can occur. There's 3 of those. The first is the land is required to be in the same county as the city. Here it is. The second is the owners of the property must petition or consent to the annexation. In this case, they have consented to it. And lastly, the Board of County Commissioners, by a 2/3 vote, which would require all of you today, would find that the annexation will not hinder and prevent the proper growth and development of the area or that of any other city within Sedgwick County. The recommended action is to make that finding. However, of course, that is a finding that's up to the will of the board. The Clearwater's city administrator sent his regrets yesterday, indicating that he wouldn't be able to attend this meeting, but I would be happy to answer any questions that I can. Thank you.
Thank you. I have just a couple questions. We had one just exactly like this about a month ago, correct?
That's correct.
And in this case, just as the one a month or so ago that we had, the applicant actually petitions, don't they, to be annexed by the city?
And I think they consented to it, but they petitioned to join onto the city's water, I believe. But in terms of how it operates under the law, it's the same thing.
Okay. So this isn't something that the City of Clearwater is trying to pick up a piece of property that is approved by the owner of the property?
That's correct. The owner of the property has to agree to it.
Okay. So this is kind of a fairly routine thing, and it's come up twice within the last month. Do you see any reason that we need to have this as a regular agenda item, or could we start looking at these, because it looks like there's a number of lots that still are going to be annexed, that we could start looking at these on consent item, as long as that the applicant is petitioning to have this, and the City of Clearwater is in agreement with it?
That's correct, Commissioner Dennis. That could be a consent agenda item.
Okay. Well, with the other commissioners' agreement, actually, is there any other questions first? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If there are no other questions, I'm ready to make a motion if you are ready.
Okay. Could you add that we add this to consent from this point forward for these properties?
Yeah, absolutely. And with our counselor's approval.
I think we can always put something on consent. There is a, I mean, we can talk to Mr. Wagner about this. It takes 4 votes, but usually consent goes through with 5 votes. And so, and if somebody's unhappy with that, they can pull it off and discuss it.
But with any consented item, we can always pull it off if we see a need to hear that
I don't
item.
I don't see that consent is limited to just certain types of things. So you can always put these on consent.
So do we need to make that part of the motion?
I don't think you need to. You can just direct staff that in the future we'll put them on consent. But
then if we don't need it, just make the regular motion.
I will do it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we find the proposed annexation will not hinder or prevent the proper growth and development of the area or that of any other incorporated city located in Sedgwick County, and therefore approve the resolution.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call a roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
And Mr. Chairman, is it your direction that in the future you would like?
And we can put it on consent, and if there's something that's unique to it in the future that we need to hear it by, we can always pull it off.
Very well.
Thank you. Next item.
Item C, proposed resolution to delegate authority to the MABCD Director for temporary reduction of the building and related permit fees in Table B of the Unified Building and Trade Code, not to exceed 20% below published fees.
Good morning.
Chairman Dennis, Commissioners, good morning. Chris Labor, Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department. As stated, presenting a change to our UBTC Table B for fund management and delegation to MABCD Director. And I believe we had slides. Do I need to pull those up? Thank you, Kate. Appreciate that. By way of revenue management, so in MABCD, we obviously collect all department-related fees for our services and permits. We also collect public works and some city revenue under the one-stop shop concept for our customers. That revenue is distributed to those agencies. The MABCD revenue is collected into a county general revenue fund. That fund also is used to feed a special revenue fund, on the city side, so that we are able to pay our city personnel and fleet costs and some administrative costs that we have with them. Those funds are not directly accessible by my department. We access those through the annual budget cycle, in that is put into our budget. We do, however, manage that fund, and it's per agreement with a city resolution, as you see here, R95-560, and with working through WABA and our local industry boards that become a part of that. Part of the agreements, standing agreements that we have with WABA, with the Wichita Area Builders Association, is that revenue fund will maintain a 3 to 4 month department operating reserve. This is designed to cover us in the event of rapid decline in revenue or in permit applications. The staff manages that fund, in that we obviously know what that cost is, what the requirement is to keep the department operating for a quarter plus. Then we also coordinate, as stated, with WABA and other industry affiliated boards to keep them apprised of the status of those funds and their input in any management of those. At this point in time, what we are seeking is an addition of paragraph 4 to our UBTC that delegates the authority to the MABCD director to provide a temporary discount of fees not to exceed 20% of those published in the fund in order to manage any surplus above that 4-month reserve that would come into that revenue fund. So as that fund approaches the 4-month reserve mark, again, in meetings with mainly the WABA Industry Board, we look at that surplus and propose a reduction in fees This would allow me to enact that reduction without having to bring it to resolution, to provide those discounts, and then it would also allow us to bring that fee back, either remove a portion of that discount or all the way back to the normally published fees 60 days after we provide notice to the BOCC and to the City Council. Given, and as it is with our current fund, we do have a surplus in that at the moment. So if we are to pass or able to get the approval for that delegation, we do intend to enact an immediate permit fee reduction. This would impact the commercial and residential building permits and would be a 10% discount across all of those. These are the main groups affiliated with those industry boards provide or pay through these permits. This is also the bulk of our revenue. So this would create an annual reduction of about $500,000. We have also, in discussion with WABA, we have some vehicle fleet management issues from our city to our county fleet that we think by possibly making some purchases now we can save money in the long run. We also have a few building upgrades to a conference room and a training room we would like to do. WABA has authorized us to approach those. It would be approached separately with you all, but they've authorized us to approach the BOCC for permission to use some of those excess funds for that. You'd still be talking no more than $200,000 for those. So with that, we recommend approval of the resolution, and I'll gladly stand for any questions.
Thank you. Do I have any questions from the board? This has been coordinated with Wichita Area Builders Association and other agencies that are impacted by this.
Correct, sir. And Mr. Gallion is here from WABA if you have any questions of him.
Okay. And no one has seen any problems with any of your recommendations, and it actually reduces the fees that they're charged, right?
To my knowledge, that is correct, sir.
Very good.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, I would move that we approve the proposed resolution and authorize the chair to sign.
Thank you. Commissioner Howell?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll second the motion. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I want to thank Director Labrum for making the presentation this morning. In fact, I'd like to say you've done a tremendous job in your role over at MABCD and appreciate your leadership. And I would say that I don't know who initiated this proposal, but I know that you've been involved in this from the beginning. I want to say thank you for whoever brought this forward. I call this smart government. This is a good kind of policy that allows that fee to adjust itself up and down as needed. I would say that to intentionally draw down any surplus revenue fund by charging less, at least initially, to sustain this makes sense to me. You make adjustments periodically to keep it at a level target. I think that's excellent way to do this. And to give you a reasonable marginal authority to regulate the revenue fund, in my opinion, just keeps this kind of at a arm's length. We don't need to sit there and do this ourselves every few months, but I think giving you that authority just is smart. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. I appreciate the fact that you've engaged Wichita Area Builders Association and Wes Gallion and his involvement on this, and knowing that this has their support as well. So I think this is a great proposal, and I appreciate the fact that you brought it to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Well, I agree with all the comments that were made. I know I don't see anyone else that wishes to speak. So, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Labrum. I appreciate it. Next item, please.
Item D, Memorandum of Understanding regarding the Wichita-Sedgwick County Exploited and Missing Children's Unit.
Morning, Colonel Powell.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Colonel Richard Powell with the Sheriff's Office. We have brought before you this morning two different items, one being a Memorandum of Understanding regarding the Exploited and Missing Children's Unit and the key stakeholders in that, and a second item following the MOU, a contractual document considering part of the funding by one of the stakeholders. A little bit of history. The Exploited and Missing Children's Unit is a joint venture with the stakeholders involved being the Wichita Police Department, the Department of Children and Families, and the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. Other parties also part of the agreement are respectively the City of Wichita, represented by the Mayor, Sedgwick County, represented by the Chairman of the BOCC, the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center, and the District Attorney from Sedgwick County. The item D that we're discussing right now simply is a memorandum of understanding between the three primary stakeholders, again, the Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, and DCF. This is for the calendar year of 2018 and provides for funding for the day-to-day operations of that particular EMCU unit and the personnel assigned to it. The EMCU program actually is overseen by an executive committee represented by designees of each of the named stakeholders I earlier mentioned, and then at the operational level by an advisory committee, which is by the individual department heads or their designees on a day-to-day basis. The Sheriff's Office is the budgetary coordination part of the program. We actually administer the budget and keep the stakeholders aware of what their budgetary status is and handle all of the funding agreements. The Director of Operations for EMCU, actually I brought with me this morning, is Lieutenant Travis Rakestraw from the Wichita Police Department, who oversees as the commander of that organization the overall day-to-day operations. Then under his command we have multiple, again, designees or supervisory personnel from the Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, and DCF that handle their respective personnel. The Police Department in this operation supplies 9 detectives and 2 officers to EMCU. The Sheriff's Office has 2 detectives who work within ECU, and then in addition to that, there's a subset or a sub-organization operating under the umbrella of EMCU, which you're all familiar with, which is ICAC, the Internet Crimes Against Children group, which they focus exclusively on Internet-based crimes against children. And in that particular group, we see that the Police Department provides 5 detectives, the Sheriff's Office provides 3 detectives, and then there are also, of course, people from DCF to provide administrative support, and then some clerical positions that we provide through the Sheriff's Office. The program itself, EMCU, what their primary responsibility is that they investigate cases throughout Sedgwick County and the city limits of Wichita, and through assistance to other agencies if so asked for. They look at cases involving allegations of sexual assault where the victim is a person under the age of 16. They also look at cases involving allegations of incest where the victim is under the age of 18. Cases involving allegations related to missing children where the child is under the age of 18 years. Cases involving allegations of physical abuse where the child is under the age of 18, unless there's a death involved. And then cases involving human trafficking where the victim of that trafficking is under the age of 18. A very worthy organization. Again, I think all of you have had some prior knowledge of the organization. Again, the 3 stakeholders each participate from the standpoint of budgetary funding. They each pay 1/3 of the expenses. Again, that would be the city, the county, and DCF. Those 1/3 of the expenses are what creates the entire budget authority of that organization. That again, that's actually managed through the Sheriff's Office. I did bring Lieutenant Rakestraw with me again today in the event that you have any detailed questions, or if he'd like to make any comments about this, he is readily available. I would ask for your review and subsequent approval of the MOU that we're presenting under item number D. The following item after this will be again a contract which will address the funding mechanism only for DCF, which by their guidelines they have to have a separate contract and that's what we'll be looking at on the next item. So I would certainly stand for any questions. And Lieutenant Rakestraw, any comments?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'd just like to say that the partnership that we have here in Sedgwick County is something that we should all be proud of. The partnership primarily is between law enforcement, social workers, and then the nonprofit group being the Child Advocacy Center of Sedgwick County. Last year, I think we saw 5-year highs in regards to sexual abuse cases and cases involving physical abuse, endangerment, neglect, things like that. And each and every one of those children that were involved in those cases were offered, and many received services through the Child Advocacy Center to help to begin to heal from the trauma inflicted by these crimes that sometimes the stories are just heartbreaking. So I think it's a very worthy organization, something I'm very proud of. Unfortunately, there's a need for it in our county as well as across the country, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to Colonel Powell and then to Lieutenant Rakestraw for presenting this opportunity this morning. As you just said, I think it's a worthy organization. I've heard that a couple times already, and I completely agree. I was thankful to sit on the board over there for a year while I was chairman in 2016, and I learned quite a lot about what you do over there, and I grew to appreciate the organization. There's many people in that facility doing a lot of tremendous work, and as you said, I wish that this didn't need to exist, but unfortunately there's a lot of bad stuff going on in our community, and they do a lot to protect children and to solve those crimes against children, so I appreciate all that they do. And so thank you for presenting this opportunity this morning. I have one question on this agreement. Is I only see the current agreement. I don't see the old one. So is there any actual changes between the previous agreement and this one we're considering today? As I've read this, I don't have any problem with it. I'm just curious if there's been any changes in the agreement language.
No changes.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm pleased to support this morning. Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion we would approve the memorandum of understanding and authorize the chairman to sign.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Unruh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to express also my appreciation to the folks involved in trying to manage, correct, and respond to what's really a deplorable situation in our society. I know all of the folks that are involved over there are dedicated to their work, and frankly, they need our continued encouragement. I don't know that I could, day after day, become aware of some of the terrible things that happen to our children, some of the situations that they are faced with, and to have to deal with that every day and try to find solutions and bring justice into the situations would seem like quite a psychological burden. So just want to express my appreciation to those folks who are in the trenches working hard at this, and Lieutenant Rakestraw, thank you for your leadership. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. And I've been at the Child Advocacy Center several times, seen the work that you all are doing. It's critical. The damage to our children is deplorable, and I appreciate what you're doing to try and help those children. And I'll definitely support the motion today. Thank you. I see no one else that wishes to speak this morning. Did you have anything, Mr. Yost?
No, I just wanted to clarify that you're voting on D right now.
We're just voting on D.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Next item, please.
Item E, amendment to contract with the Kansas Department of Children and Family to fund 1/3 of the cost of the Exploited and Missing Children Unit for calendar year 2018.
Good morning again, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman. Colonel Richard Powell. As previously mentioned, this is a separate agreement, contractual agreement between the parties and DCF, the Department of Children and Family, regarding their 1/3 share of the funding for the EMCU organization. Again, it's for the calendar year 2018, and it simply defines per their necessary policies what their contractual obligations are going to be. In this particular document, it says that their Their funding for 1/3 of the cost will be $46,056 and will not exceed that amount for this particular calendar year. And again, this is by virtue of their own internal policies that require them to have a contract. So if there are no questions for this, I would respectfully ask for your consideration and subsequent approval of this document also.
Thank you, Colonel Powell. Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just have one question. That is, I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but let me ask it anyway. Is this expenditure already in our approved budget for a fiscal 2018 budget? We already approved this as a planned expenditure at that time. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. All the funds are pooled together, and we actually have a separate fund center set aside for this organization.
Well, let me just say, again, I don't know how they get it done. There's a lot going on over there, and I think the partnership is critical. But, this is not a lot of money considering what they get done over there. And I think, let me just say, they do a tremendous amount of work for a fairly small amount of funding. It's quite amazing, actually. I really appreciate what they do. Right. Looking at the budget sheet that's in the backup material here, it looks like there's a small increase this year. Am I seeing that correctly?
Correct. And I believe those were tied to employment costs, sir.
Okay. Well, I have no problem with that whatsoever. Again, I appreciate all that they do. And Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we approve the amendment and authorize the chairman to sign.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Again, I definitely will support this. I think the work you're doing is tremendous. So, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners, and we do appreciate your continued support.
Lieutenant, thank you very much for being here today. We appreciate it. Next item, please.
Item F, consideration of a grant in the amount of $118,429 from the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services for COMCARE'S PATH Homelessness Program.
Morning, Joan.
Hey, good morning, Commissioners. Joan Tammany here with ComCare. Also here with me today is Jennifer Wilson. She's the manager of our homeless program and available for any specific questions you might have regarding the program or this grant. I come to here before you today to ask you to authorize us to apply and accept the award if selected. For almost 20 years, ComCare has received PLATH grants from the Kansas Department of Aging and Disability Services, and our hope is to continue that with this extra grant. PATH is an acronym that stands for Projects for Assistance in Transition from Homelessness. So the grant application is for a total of $118,429, and if awarded would allow ComCare to continue providing services for people who are homeless and who also have a mental health or a substance abuse issue. This amount is just over $3,000 more than our previous year, and this is tied to the salary increases we incurred in January. The population of homelessness is what this grant is targeting, and these persons are people who are living in shelters, who are living in their cars, who are living on the street, living in parks in our community. If awarded, the grant will cover salaries and benefits for 2.4 full-time equivalents. This is 2 outreach workers who actively engage this population out in our community, and then a 0.4% of a staff member who collects the data, enters the data, oversees the program. Staff who work in this grant anticipate outreaching to over 300 individuals in this next grant cycle. We achieved that with 319 in the previous year. As a result of these efforts, we were able to successfully engage approximately 75% of these persons into services at ComCare or into services elsewhere in our community. And in addition, housing was obtained for approximately 90% of these people. So one celebratory statement for this is that ComCare has consistently exceeded the expectations and outcome requirements of the state, which is about 58% of engagement. So ComCare will have a match of approximately $33,000 worth of expenditures for this grant. This match covers portion of the salary for the manager who oversees this program and also expenses related to things like purchasing IDs for this population who has been homeless for some time. We believe this is a worthwhile investment and that we have had a significant impact on this population in our community. We've engaged them into primary care, which is a critical need with this group of individuals. We have engaged them into our own mental health and substance abuse services. We've assisted them with getting housing. We work with them significantly on getting benefits restored and helping them complete that paperwork. We've assisted them with getting employment, and then really we also assist with obtaining basic needs such as blankets, socks, shoes, the things we take for granted that they can't purchase on their own. So we think the program has done very well over the years. We have high hopes of continuing. I'm recommending you authorize us to apply and accept the grant if awarded, and to authorize the chairman or his designee to sign any related documents. And I'm here to answer any questions, and Jen Wilson's also available to respond to specific questions about the program.
Well, thank you very much for being here with us today. We sincerely appreciate that. This is just one of a number of programs that ComCare provides for services to our citizens here in Sedgwick County. And it is a grant that you'll be applying for. Hopefully we do get the grant. It does have a small match that we'll have from Sedgwick County, but the impact on our homeless population, I think, is critical. And again, it's just one of a lot of things that you do over there, and we do appreciate that. Do we have any questions on this issue? Commissioner Howell.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Tammany, for the presentation this morning. Appreciate you bringing this to us again. I wanted to ask you, can you please talk a little bit about how many folks that they reach in a given year? I know our population continue. I call it a pipeline. I think as you assist someone to get out of the homeless situation, there's another one that ends up homeless, and so there's a pipeline of folks that need these services. But can you talk about how many people you connect with in a given year and that type of thing?
I can give. Jen's probably got more specifics. I can give you estimates. I think over the last 3 years we've increased from about 274, 284 to about 319 last year that are officially counted.
We've had 400 contacts.
Yeah.
About 300, over 300 unduplicated.
You want to come up, Jen?
Last year they had about 400 total contacts, and 319 of those were unduplicated.
Awesome. And when you say the contact, what does that entail?
Them coming into contact on the streets and shelter, whether or not they come to our program, just anywhere within our community.
Well, anyway, I do appreciate the program. I know this is an issue that urban communities seem to have a lot of this going on, and I know Wichita has had quite a few homeless folks, and I'm glad we have ways to help them out. And again, so the street outreach, the screening and diagnostic treatment, referrals to providers, those are all very critical things, and I know ultimately you want to lift them up out of homelessness, and I think it's really important. So I would like to make a motion that we would authorize ComCare to apply, and if awarded, accept the grant and authorize the chairman to sign. But along with that, I'd like to also make just a note for the public to, once again, to let them know this is one of our 77 grants that are currently on our list. This is a renewal. And altogether, we accept roughly $37.7 million in grant dollars from federal and state. It helps us with providing services to our local community. So thank you to the state and the federal government for the grants that they offer to us. I appreciate being able to take them up on this to help our community. So, Mr. Chairman, I did make a motion. Thank you for the chance to speak.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. I would like to second that. And also, just one other question. When I toured your facility, you have people that actually go out under the bridges and find the homeless people and visit with them, seeing what kind of services that they need, seeing what we can do to help. You're not intrusive if they don't want anything. You don't force anything on anyone, but you're there to make sure that they know what services are available. Is that not correct?
That's right. They do a fantastic job, too.
I don't think people realize that we have actually got people working for the county that are going out, seeking out the people that are homeless where they're at. And I think it's tremendous. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? We've got a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here today. Next item, please.
Item G, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts, regular meeting of March 15, 2018.
Well, good morning. What'd you do with Joe today?
He's at a conference today.
Oh, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Krista McGovern, Senior Buyer, Purchasing. The meeting of the Board of Bids and Contracts of March 15th results in 4 items for your consideration and approval. Item number 1, maintenance and support for computer-aided dispatch system, emergency communications. The recommendation is to accept the quote from Northrop Grumman Systems Corporation in the amount of $139,851.25. Item number 2, 200 West Murdoch, Office of the Medical Director, remodel, project services. The recommendation is to accept the low bid from Bauer & Son Construction Company, Incorporated, in the amount of $319,500 and establish unit pricing at $1.85 per square foot for additional roof work as required. Item number 3 is water heater replacement for juvenile detention facilities department, and the recommendation is to accept the low bid from South Central Commercial Mechanical LLC in the amount of $52,530.63 and establish unit pricing for any additional work that may be required at the rates listed. And the final item, number 4, the Chevrolet Equinox crossover for fleet management for MABCD, and the recommendation is to utilize the state of Kansas contract number 43716 with Ed Bozar Chevrolet in the amount of $59,961. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, and I recommend approval of these items.
Well, thank you very much. I know that Commissioner O'Donnell and I have been speaking with Dr. Gallagher now for some time, promising him that we would get him moved into a facility that he can do his job. I'm very pleased that we're finally getting to the point where we're going to start the remodel of the old Murdoch tag office so that he can get his EMS facility moved into that. So this is very good. I know that all 4 of these items are important, but that's one that Commissioner O'Donnell and I have been working on for some time trying to get accomplished, and I'm very pleased that we got to that point. If I see no discussion, Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the good description of what we're talking about this morning. But I wanted to ask on item number 4, usually when we've purchased vehicles in the past, we normally send that like a RFP out to a number of dealers, and we usually see the competition and all that. But this time we're using a state contract. So I'm curious, is this just a different way to do the same thing? We don't need to send this out to RFP?
Well, there was a couple factors involved in some work that was done prior to making the decision to utilize the state of Kansas contract. Time was a factor, and then if you want, Penny did spoke to a couple local dealerships, and 3 of those dealerships had provided quotes for the state of Kansas contract, and they were not the low bidder.
Okay.
So there was some research that was done prior to deciding whether we were going to utilize the state contract or not.
Well, anyway, it just seems like a change in process. That's why I'm a little surprised by this. In the past, when we've purchased vehicles, usually we see that sent out to another number of dealers, and then we see the different prices, and usually one of those is selected. But this is just a different way of doing that. But I think this is the first time I've seen this process so far that I'm aware of.
I believe we've utilized the state contract just a few times.
Okay. I think that's my only question, but thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'd like to move that we approve the recommendations of the Board of Bids and Contracts.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Thank you very much for being here today. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Morning, Commissioners. Tom Stills, Deputy County Manager. Recommend you approve items H through O.
No phonetic alphabet this morning?
Henry through Ocean, sir.
You would not make it in the military either. Thank you. I move that we approve item hotel through Oscar. Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Howell?
Aye.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Chairman Dennis?
Aye. Thank you. Next item, please.
Legislative issues.
Will, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Got a couple updates for you. The urban area designation passed out of the Senate committee yesterday. There was one amendment. The amendment made the effective date as published in the Kansas Register as opposed to the statute book. And my understanding from talking to our lobbyist last night is that that keeps the bill conferenceable. Not entirely sure what that means. We'll try to talk to him a little bit later today. But the bill's passed the House and now has passed the Senate committee with one very slight amendment. So I think the prognosis is still good for our urban area bill. The election commissioner budget bill, which is House Bill 2509, still has not been worked in the Senate committee. I have a feeling that's probably going to end up in conference committee before the session ends. And the ballot, the envelope bill, which is Senate Bill 264, that was significantly amended. We had a member that had amended that would have allowed anyone to apply for lifetime advance ballots as opposed to just folks that have permanent disabilities or illnesses under current law. And that actually has turned that bill into a substitute bill. And I have a feeling it's going to end up in conference committee as well. So the kind of our two election bills, I think, are probably headed towards conference committee. And
Very good.
I don't have any other updates. I'd stand for questions.
I don't have any questions. Does anyone else have any questions about any of those bills? Well, good. Keep us informed on each of those because each of those are important to us here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next item, please.
Other?
Thank you. Does anyone have anything for other this morning? Well, I have one thing then. If no one else has anything. I'm sorry. Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was anxiously waiting for Susan Erlenwine to mention this, but she surprised me by not mentioning the e-waste event. It's supposed to happen again. I know it's the day after our next meeting, so I wanted to have people give some advance notice once again. It's scheduled for April the 5th through the 7th, which is a Thursday through Saturday, and also on April the 12th through the 14th from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at our West Yard. It's on our website, so hopefully people can plan to take advantage of that. It's a tremendous opportunity to get rid of all those old computers and CRTs and printers and VCRs and things like that. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity. I want to make sure people are planning to take advantage of that. I wanted to also say I appreciated an opportunity last Saturday during the NCAA tournament. I did take some time to go over to City of Hayesville with Mayor Bruce Armstrong and the American Legion Post 408 and the VFW from both Derby and from Hayesville. We got together and and also a Boy Scout troop, 895. We got together and did a very unusual ceremony. We don't do it very often. They collect flags for the community. If you're not aware of that, if you have a tattered flag that's faded and tattered, they do collect those flags at the VFW American Legion facilities. And so we had, I don't know how many flags, I'm going to say a few hundred, maybe 300, 400 flags we had there, and a very solemn ceremony. Talk about the importance of the flag and honoring the flag. And of course, to dispose of a flag, we don't want to put that in a landfill because that would be, it would desecrate the flag. So they do have a way to dispose of those. That is by incineration. And so they had 5 places set up, and Boy Scouts and military members, as well as Mayor Armstrong and myself were able to participate and dispose of those flags last Saturday. A very solemn ceremony. I want to say appreciate Boy Scout Troop 895 out of Hayesville, as well as the other military organizations that put that together. And then I wanted to also say this coming Saturday at 5 o'clock, I will be able to speak at the American Legion's 99th birthday celebration at the Powerhouse in Derby. I will be the key speaker there at that event, so I want to say thank you for the opportunity for that. But if you want to come out and support the American Legion, that's an opportunity for people in District 5 at least, if not the entire community. And then just finally, I don't think I've mentioned this before, but I want to just get it out to a little bit larger audience, that on the first, third, and fourth Fridays of each month, I usually do a thing called Cup of Joe with Jim out in the city of Derby at Riverside Cafe from 7 to 9 a.m. I'm just there to do meet and greet and talk to people about whatever they want to talk about. Sometimes county issues come up. That's primarily what I'm there for, but I'll talk about anything. So there's lots of topics that come up, and I usually have, 4, 5, 6 people will show up on any given Friday. But it's a great opportunity, and I hope that people will take advantage of that. Again, that'll be this Friday will be my next one, 7 to 9 a.m. at the Derby Riverside Cafe. So with that, that's all my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Howell. I have a couple things since I don't see any. Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to give a shout out and congratulate Nancy Lawrence and the Delano Association for a wonderful St. Patrick's Day parade. I was able to go out there on Saturday and walk in the parade. They estimate between 20 and 25,000 people, which is almost double what they had last year. She gave the factor to good weather, it being on a Saturday, which is actually St. Patrick's Day, and also just a lot of enthusiasm in town for the NCAA tournament. But Nancy Lawrence and her team really, it was outstanding. It was a very good showing for us. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Now I don't see anyone else. I've got a couple comments. First of all, I want to give a shout out to everyone that was involved in March Madness. We had thousands of people downtown, and it came off almost totally flawless. The Intus Bank Arena was fantastic. Everyone working on that venue. I did get to go to one of the games, so I've seen my first NCAA live rather than on TV, and it was fantastic. I know that David Spears was very happy because KU won. But overall, the city of Wichita, Visit Wichita, the Sports Commission, Sedgwick County, all came together, and the people mainly that welcomed all of the visitors to this area were fantastic. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone that was involved in that. Tell them congratulations, job well done. I think that the NCAA will definitely be looking to come back and see us again in 2021. I'm glad that Commissioner Howell talked a little bit about the e-waste. A few years ago we did have a collection, and as I recall we got over 1 million pounds of e-waste in one collection. This time we're going to do it a little differently so we don't get 1 million pounds all at once. So we've got facility, we've got people, we've got everything arranged so that folks can bring their e-waste and get rid of it and protect our environment, and I appreciate that. The final thing I want to talk about a little bit is the opioid epidemic. We've seen, I know that President Trump is working some of that. When we were back in D.C. here a couple weeks ago at the NACO conference, one of the big issues was the opioid epidemic and the impact it's having on counties, because counties is really the organization that faces the biggest brunt of the opioid epidemic. I heard from one commissioner that was in West Virginia. His entire county was about 65,000 people, and he had between 1 and 2 million opioid pills coming into his county in a year. Heard from another commissioner from Florida, and evidently they have quite a treatment program there, and the problem that they're having is that people across the nation are recognizing that they've got a tremendous treatment program, and so they're coming in from across the nation to try and get cured. So they're picking up the cost there. Our sheriff here, Sheriff Jeff Easter, has been working with us and is very proactive. Yesterday we had a meeting that Commissioner Unruh and I attended, along with the DA, the sheriff, people from Wichita Police Department, folks from our ComCare, folks from our health department, our forensic scientist, Sedgwick County and Wichita Fire Department, our EMS. These are all agencies that are impacted, and I'm sure I missed some, but these are all agencies that are impacted by this opioid epidemic on trying to help the folks. The sheriff brought back a program called A Way Out as a possible solution, and he presented that to everyone, where that if someone is having a problem with opioids, they can go up to a police officer or a sheriff's officer and say they want a way out. And if they walk up to them, they've got drugs in their pocket, that's not an offense, because they're wanting a way out. They'll take the drugs away from them. They won't be charged for having those drugs on them. Now, granted, if they've got other outstanding warrants and so forth, they may still be in trouble a little bit, but at least we'll start them on treatment for their addiction. So I appreciate the fact that, and the other folks, there were a number of other folks in attendance that are our local community folks that are involved from the hospitals, from other agencies that are working this issue. So it's not just a government, county, or city issue. It's across our entire county that are having problems with this opioid issue. So I appreciate the efforts that our sheriff has got on taking the lead in this. We are definitely supportive of his efforts, so we're going to do what we can. I know that Tim Kaufman was there yesterday, along with Rusty Leeds, from our leadership under our county manager, to see what we can do. I think that we're going to have to do more, unfortunately. We're in the budget cycle right now. We probably need to do some more coordination with outside agencies, outside of government, to find out what that they can do to help us with this epidemic. But we may need to put more resources from the county, unfortunately. Fortunately for the people that are addicted, unfortunately for our budget cycle. But we're going to have to do more, unfortunately, to help all those that are addicted to the opioids and see if we can stem the tide. I know last year we joined a class action suit on folks that are distributing these, but that's only one step. Right now we've got a problem right here close to home. And actually it's not just opioids, it's also methamphetamines is a big problem that we've got here locally. So we're going to be working, we're going to hear more about this, especially as we get into the budget cycle, because we may have to add some personnel to our staffing tables to take a look at what's going on in this area. But the folks in ComCare are doing a tremendous job, the folks in our health department, everyone is involved, so we're going to have to figure out what we can do to help the folks that are addicted. But with that, that's the only things that I wanted to discuss today. Does anyone else have anything before we move on? Okay. I don't believe we have an executive session set today. Does anyone else have anything in the room that we need to discuss? Seeing nothing, we're adjourned. Thank you for being here.
Production and broadcast costs for Sedgwick County Commission meetings have been underwritten by Sedgwick County. KPTS welcomes comments from the public on its broadcast of the County Commission hearings. Viewers are invited to write to County Commission Broadcast, KPTS 320 West 21st Street, Wichita, Kansas 67203.
You're watching KPTS, Hutchinson, Wichita, public television for South Central Kansas. We now join our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
Above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle,
twinkle, little star! How I wonder what you are.
Yeah, play! I'ma feel the rhythm!
Yeah!
Yo, Sky, here I come!
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
Elmo still can't play the song. Okay, what is Elmo doing wrong, Music Master Grover?
I have no idea, Elmo. You see, I only feel the music. I do not play it. Perhaps you should try practicing. Well, I am off to teach my feel the music method to the Cleveland Orchestra now. Taxi!
Isn't that awesome? Twinkle, twinkle, little star! I thought you'd be twinklier.
Yeah, well, I'll get my twinkle back as soon as Elmo learns to play my song on the piano. No pressure, Elmo.
Right. Well, you know I can help with that. Yeah, I just learned a new magic piano playing spell. Really? Yep. Oh, cool. It goes like this. Eye of newt and tongue of believe. Fingers on piano keys. Now play some twinkle, twinkle, please. Zippity zap. Wow! Elmo's doing it! Elmo's playing Twinkle Twinkle!
Wow, that's amazing! That's beautiful music, Elmo.
Thank you!
Lady Baba?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. I think you need more practice. Ready, Steve?
What happened, Abby? Elmo can't play Twinkle Twinkle anymore. Boy, Elmo's making more mistakes than before. Oh, well, sorry, Elmo. Sorry, Twinkle Twinkle. I guess the magic just wore off.
It happens.
Yeah. Well, I better go practice that spell some more. Zippity zap!
Forget about it. Guess I'll never get my twinkle back now.
I can do it! I can do it! I can play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star! Listen.
Oh, that is beautiful music!
Hey, is that...
Yeah, Twinkle Twinkle.
Whoa! That means a lot coming from you, Twinkle, Twinkle.
Teddy didn't make any mistakes playing the music. How did Teddy do that?
Just one word, Elmo. Practice.
Well, yeah, Elmo practiced and Elmo didn't learn the song.
Well, not yet, but you gotta keep practicing, Elmo. You gotta play it over and over until you get it. You can't give up.
Yeah. Okay, Teddy. Okay, Elmo's gonna practice, and Elmo's not gonna stop until Elmo learns to play the song.
Suddenly, I'm feeling hopeful.
Ah, good luck, Elmo. I'm gonna go home and play this song for my mama.
Bye, Teddy. Boy, Elmo better get to work.
Yo, I think you got it.
Yeah! Elmo played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and Elmo didn't make any mistakes! Hey, Mr. Twinkle Twinkle is twinkling!
Yeah, that's because you didn't give up, Elmo.
Oh, yeah! Oh, hey, do you want to sing with Elmo?
You betcha.
Okay. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
Thanks for not giving up, Elmo.
You're welcome. night, Mr. Twinkle Twinkle. Jump up, get down. Come dance with Elmo. We're moving our body to the ABCs. Dance nearby. Wow. Dance far away. Now clap your hands. To the letter of the day, clap, clap. What's the letter? Clap, clap. What's the letter? Clap, 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 clap. What's the letter?
What's the letter? What's the letter? What's the letter? What's the letter?
The letter of the day is M.
Clap, clap.
It's the letter of the day.
Clap, clap.
It's the letter of the day.
Clap, clap.
It's the letter. It's the letter. It's the letter of the day. It's the letter of the day.
Clap, clap.
It's the letter of the day.
Clap, clap.
M. M is for music.
There's music all around. There's music everywhere.
In every little sound.
Just listen and you'll hear.
Listen.
Listen. To the rhythm of your footsteps walking down the street. The woodpecker tapping at a brand new beat.
The busy honeybee just buzzing on by.
The little red robin singing to the sky.
That's music
playing for free. Every little sound in harmony. Music all around us, playing so true, and it's playing for you. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Listen, listen to the chirping of the grasshopper having a say. The hummingbird humming on a sunny day.
The little green bullfrog croaking with a friend.
Pine trees whistling in the summer wind. That's music playing for free. Every little sound in harmony. Music all around us, playing so true, and it's playing for you. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. That's music. Murray has a little
Yo, Murray has a little lamb who wears a little bow. Together they go everywhere. I mean, what's like to go? He follows her to school each day. They run, they spin, they leap. Yo, everybody loves to see a monster and his sheep, and they all say,
Murray has a little lamb.
Ovejita, where are we going to today? Una escuela. A school? Oh boy, what school are we going to? Drumming school! Escuela de tocar el tambor! Hey Don, what's like a normal day in class here?
Well, on a normal day, the kids come into the room. We have the drums all set up for them.
Am I gonna get to use a drum?
That's right, you get to use a drum.
I'm gonna use a drum today.
Kumba la vista.
We learn about the bongos, djembe, we have sabah.
How do we learn to play the drums?
Well, we learn about the bass and the tone. We use our hand, the palm of our hands for the bass. Oh, you told me you never took drumming before.
No, I never did. I just have a natural rhythm. What other kinds of things can you play a drum with?
Sometimes you use your fingers, you use sticks, mallets.
Timpani. What's a mallet?
A mallet is a stick with a ball on it.
I love drumming school. Goodbye. Adios.
Yum, 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 dum dee dee dum. How many cookies are there today?
Yum, 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 dum diddy dum. How many cookies today?
While they still baking,
Bake, 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 bake.
let's do some shaking.
Shake, 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 shake. Bake, 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 bake. Shake, shake. How many cookies today?
While they still baking,
Bake, 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 bake.
let's do some more shaking.
Shake, 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 shake. Bake, 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 bake. Shake, shake. How many cookies today?
Me think they're ready.
Everybody steady.
5 cookies. Nom 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 nom. That's how many cookies there were today. 5.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7,
there's just one me. Nobody like me, take a look and see. Just one me. The smile on my face is like no smiling you've seen. I'm one special person, do you know what I mean? There is just one me.
Two. Oh, the number one is not my favorite number. 'Cause one means only me and there's no you. But 1 + 1, you see, makes 2, that's you and me. It's more fun when 1 and 1 make 2. It's more fun when 1 and 1 make 2. Do, 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 do. Three.
1,
2,
3.
3 is you and I. 1,
2,
3.
3 is middle.
low.
A perfect trio. 3,
1,
2, 1, 2, 3 people filled with pride. 1, 2, 3 partners side by side.
1,
2, 3 souls, 1 perfect harmony. Do, 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 do.
4.
Oh, 4.
1, 2, 3,
4.
We're gonna sing about 4.
1, 2, 3,
4 is the legs on an old easy chair. 4 is the corners of a
1, 2,
square.
3, 4. Come on, guys, let's tell them
Oh,
more.
4.
3,
4.
We'll sing some more about 4.
2, 3,
4 are the legs on a spotted moo cow. 4 people singing right now.